So without further ado, I will pass it off to Kelsey and Brenda to talk through our client spotlight.
Great. Kim, thank you so much for the clients listening. It's a great resource to take a peek at. I see a question already in the chat, so just make sure you check your inbox and your spam inbox. If you don't see it, then feel free to reach out to your client success manager and we're happy to forward it over to you. Now we're going to go ahead and dive into our client spotlight, which for this March webinar is with the Texas Retired Teachers Association. You can see Brenda here in the panelists. And for those of you listening, she is the Senior Membership Analyst for Texas Retired Teachers Association. She joined TRTA in 2011 as part of the membership staff. In addition to her duties in membership, Brenda is the liaison between TRTA and their IT database vendors. Though Brenda had never even heard of IMIS before joining TRTA, she is now responsible for maintaining the software, the database, as well as the network environment. Now, I know we have some others listening that use IMIS, so it's kind of funny that Brenda had no idea what it was prior to. But now she considers it a personal challenge to find ways to utilize technology to allow TRTA to continue growing in their ability to serve their members while keeping the cost manageable for their nonprofit organization. Simply put, Brenda is the technology liaison for TRTA. Brenda, thank you so much for joining us today. We're very excited to have you.
Thank you.
What Brenda and I will be discussing today is first, we'll talk a little bit about the demographics that are in their membership. Then we'll talk about how they promoted the app to that group of members, what content they're putting inside of their app, how they're leveraging all of the different features, and lastly, how they are utilizing the app for virtual events. Alexa, if you'll click to the next slide, please. Great, thank you. So today we're going to hear about TRTA's app journey. If you are listening, no matter where you are in the life cycle with Clowder, whether you just had your kickoff call or you're being onboarded, maybe you're promoting the app, you're going to hear the full journey from Brenda. So hopefully you'll be able to walk away with a few nuggets. Now, Brenda, to start things off, where did you first hear about Clowder? What made you first interested?
My first introduction to Clowder was at a users group for IMIS. It's NIAG. I was at their conference and Clowder had a booth. At the time, NIAG had an event app, and we had been approached by other vendors wanting to do, to sell us an event app. We only have one major event a year, and we have some smaller ones, so we never could justify the cost of an app just for an event. But what I liked about Clowder is, one, it was they were working with the developers of IMIS, ASI, so I wasn't going to have to worry about integration problems. That was huge to me. And then the other thing I really liked about it is that it's a 365-day-a-year app, not just event. And so that put the cost analysis in a whole different ballgame and made it something a lot more feasible for us.
And I know after that initial interest, you worked about 18 months with our sales team. So Brenda, what was the hesitation with you all to sign on with us at the start?
I got so close to Billy Barnes during that process. I think we talked constantly. And Brad, it's like, I've either got to get TRTA to do this or I'm going to have to go on staff there. We talked so much, but our board was apprehensive. We are Texas Retired Teachers Association. So by extension, our demographics are a little bit older. So our board was not sure how well received the app would be. And so it took a lot of persistence. It took a lot of research and some demos and a lot of great work by Brad and Billy in addressing our concerns. But it was a full 18 months before we finally signed on.
Yeah, Brenda, that is quite some time. And now that the app is live, How do you think those members responded to the app initially? Were those concerns kind of solved for the board?
Um, yes, I mean, I think they were still apprehensive when we went into it, but they were willing to try it. We, timing is everything, I guess. We signed the contract in February of last year, and with the idea that we would onboard during the summer. And then in March, the whole world changed. And the Clowder team was wonderful because it was like, yeah, when I said we'd get to this around June, let's do it today. Let's do it now. And they responded and got right with me, and we got it out really fast. And we were very, very pleased by the reception from our members. One of the reasons I felt like the app would do well for our members is because they were constantly, every time I saw our members, they had a mobile device in their hand. They're drifting away from the laptops or the desktops, and they're using tablets and phones. And of course, the app is just perfect for that. They're used to, they're FaceTiming with their grandkids and, family members and things like that. And this was even before the pandemic. So I felt pretty good about how the app would do if I could just get our organization to try it. And it has lived up to all of our expectations and actually exceeded what we had hoped. It picked up a lot faster than we expected.
And to attest to what Brenda is saying here, you can see on the slide in front of us, this is their very first post in the app. So this is their welcome post in the TRTA app. And to everyone's surprise, it has 177 comments on it. And you can see from their retired teachers, some comments on the left-hand side of the screen. So you can see that they say things like, TRTA has our best interests. And then another one, I love that you continue to find us new ways to connect with Texas retirees. Thank you. And then my personal favorite comment was, great app. My grandson is studying to become a Texas teacher. We'll let him know about you. And then of course you can see a few more popping out on the right-hand side of your screen. But Brenda, I will say we were super excited to see those comments in the app, and I hope the TRTA staff was as well.
Yes, we have been. The staff, our board, leadership, we've all been very, very pleased with the way it's been accepted and used.
Now, before that initial welcome post that we just saw, how did you promote the app to your members, Brenda? I remember us talking about we weren't just going to launch to every single member at once. How did you all go about that strategy to promote the app?
I was very targeted. The first thing I did was I got the staff on board, and they were really excited about it. And so we were using it among ourselves first. And then we got our volunteer leadership. We are a volunteer. We have a small staff, but the most of the leadership of our association is volunteers. So we got our board. We have close to 100,000 members, and probably our volunteer leadership is 1,500 or 2,000. So we started in levels of that, first at our board, and then we just kind of like a pyramid and just kept spreading out and out to it. It's really good because every level that we went to, we got a lot of buy-in, and that momentum helped carry us on. But what was really funny is that when the app went live, and we had not done any kind of promotion or anything, we were amazed at the number of people who stumbled on the app. We had users signing in before we even started promoting it. And so that was really fun that somebody had just come across this at the App Store and said, a member said, oh, we have an app now. So
yeah, I definitely think that's exciting that they were, searching for it. They were already looking for this item that you had just purchased to offer them. And Brenda, I remember one thing you mentioned to me is that you were really happy that you all decided to stick with it for some time. Mentally, I think the staff said, okay, we're going to set these goals. And we're going to keep it going, not just for a year, but multiple, to ensure that we're giving ourselves the time that we need to promote it to our members.
Right. And that was, when I was making a presentation to the board and talking to our leadership about it and everything, that was one of the things that we went in with, is that this isn't something we need to do for a few months or a year and see what happens. We need to make a solid commitment to it, keep our expectations low. Working with Kelsey and Alexa, we set some goals on what it would look like, 90 days out, 6 months out. And we exceeded those goals, which was really exciting. But it was in every project that I take on, and when you deal with technology with a group that's, Texas Retired Teachers Association, I do feel like I'm constantly pushing them to do something they're a little unsure of. And so I have learned to under promise and over deliver. One of the things I really liked about this app is that I was able to do that in spades. And so it just went really, really smooth.
And Brenda, the other thing I know that you did to encourage that was the strategy for your messaging that you used. Do you mind sharing a little bit about how you decided to make it a little bit more fun when you promoted the app?
Well, one of our goals with the app was to give our members one place. We have a website. We use email. We even still use print media with the newsletters. Our director does an email newsletter. We have Facebook and other social media, but we didn't have any one place that the information was consolidated. And that was one of the goals with the app. And our mission here at TRTA is for the overall enhancement of our members' lives. So we're a heavy legislative group, but it's not just that. It's more of a lifestyle thing. So at the very beginning, especially, we launched about 4 months into the pandemic, and everybody was bored and they were tired of not seeing each other. So we did a lot of fun things, some little games, sharing of information. We announced all the holidays and fun events. And we lately, as we've gone into legislative session, our content has gotten a little bit meatier, but we do still we promote when our chapters have an anniversary. People getting together. It's more of a lifestyle type app than anything. We want it to be there, where they go, where our members look anytime they want to find out anything about TRTA or keep in touch with each other. Just we want it to be everything.
Yes, that one-stop shop that you were hoping for.
Mhm.
And I think Brenda did a great job in her promotional materials. And you can see on that slide, there were a few examples. But one I'd like to highlight was the scavenger hunt. I think that made it enjoyable for the members to say, okay, I'm looking for where I can post this or where I can do that. And they really felt like this app was for them and that they were having fun along the way, finding these items within the app. So Brenda, shout out to you and your hard work. I think you made it enjoyable for those members to find things.
It's been really fun since that time. And as our members get more used to moving around, our state president came to us and said, is there a place we can track in memoriams? We recognize the people we've lost over a year, once a year in the magazine and at our convention. But he said, is there any way we can do this in the app? And it's really fun when your state president comes to you and asks you if you can do something and you've got it up and running in about an hour. And so we were able to do that. We now have a spot where people can post, the people that have passed and keep everybody informed that way. So not the cheeriest of subjects, but it is information people want.
It's definitely important for you all to be notified as well. I know in regards to the Texas storms, you all did a great job also, reaching out for support on that subject. And, Alexa, will you click to the next slide? Brenda, will you tell us a little bit more about the content that you're putting inside the app? I know you just mentioned the memoriams, the support during the Texas storms for your members. What are those other items that you put in the app?
Well, like I said, anything that we think will be that of interest or that our members need to know. And one of the really nice things about the app is that I am, more of the technical person. We have a communications department, and it has been such an easy handoff for the communications team to access the dashboard and be able to post information. But you'll see, in our demographics, the vaccine is of utmost, and everything going on with COVID is highly important to them. So we've got information about that in there. We're in the middle of a legislative session, so we're sharing lots of information about what's going on across the street at our Texas Capitol. Anytime if we have new member benefits or highlighting current member benefits, as we're trying to get everybody, using Zoom and alternate forms of technology since we can't meet in real life. We have pointers there on how to use the Zoom. There's a place for within our districts to have conversations. They can use the chat feature and chat with each other. So there's just, and then we've also incorporated content from our other areas, the email newsletter, the website, that we also put into the app so that, again, they can just go to their mobile device and find everything. We even have our membership form, and when you kicked off at the beginning of this webinar talking about using it to recruit, we have that in there too. So it's a lot of good content, I think, and it's a variety of things so that there's always something interesting.
Now, Brenda, it sounds like to me that if it's something TRTA is doing or offering to members, it's somewhere in the app. Is that true?
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a great strategy for all our clients to hear. You don't want your members to feel like they're missing out on something if they're in the app. You want it all to be in there, plus more those conversations within those forums or the comments in the news feed. And Brenda, I know one of the content items that you just mentioned was that membership form. Alexa, if you'll click forward that one slide. Brenda, will you tell us a little bit more about this form that you mentioned?
This is something that our members really, really like, because when they recruit, a lot of our members are still active with current teachers and public education members. And so they like to recruit, hey, come join our organization. And this is so easy because it's right there on their phone, and they can email it to them, they can text it to them, and they don't have to carry, anything around, brochures or anything around with them. It's right there on their phone, and they can send it to them and, use it for recruiting. And if they need to renew, then it's right there. So.
Which, Brenda, I think it was so funny. You mentioned to me that your members, prior to having this form in the app, would actually carry around a stack of paper forms with them.
They would have them with them. They would take them to the grocery store, church, other group meetings. And so this has made their lives a lot easier.
I'm sure. I can imagine carrying around, you're fumbling through your purse or maybe spilled coffee on it. So definitely makes their lives easier just clicking that right-hand top corner and instantaneously sending it to a potential member.
Right.
Now, Brenda, as far as push notifications, I know I've seen some pretty fun ones going along with the way you promote the app. I've seen your happy holidays as well as reminders. Now, what is your app strategy as far as push notifications go?
We're pretty judicious with them. We don't want to annoy people, but we do want to keep them informed. So whenever there's, relevant information, maybe a new inside line, especially if something's changing fast, like, if we need to, if a bill's under, if a hearing is coming up and we need people to email their legislators, then this is a really quick way, faster than an email. We used to do that by email. This is a lot faster because it pops up on their phone or mobile device, which they probably have pretty close to them anyway. And then also fun little things too, just to let them know that we're thinking of them and that we really do want them to have a happy holiday or whatever the occasion may be.
Definitely. And Brenda, you just mentioned email. And Brenda and I were actually laughing the other day about our inboxes. I know my personal inbox has thousands of emails that just sit in there.
Mhm.
So do you think by sending a push, your members are more likely to absorb that information, whether they click on it or not?
Yes, there is so much noise in email these days. And even when you have someone that you've been emailing back and forth with, then it'll still end up in the spam occasionally. And vital information won't get through. It's easy to, you open an email and you mean to do something about it, and then you forget, and then it shows red, and that you've already read it, and it goes on down. And or if you remember something and then you're having to search your email inbox, when we rely strictly on email, we get a lot of complaints, especially, and this, I mentioned we have about 2,000 volunteer leaders, and trying to get them all on the same page is not been an easy task. And so making sure that everybody who needs the email gets the email, that it's actually received, that it's read, that we have the correct email address. It was not an effective way of communicating. And so using the app, if we have some information coming out that we feel like they need, like a push notification, hey, the new membership year has started, renew now, look for or even if we are sending an email, sending a push notification saying your new member rosters are in your email inbox. Let us know if you don't get it, So it's just a more direct way of communicating with our members and making sure that our messages get out where they need to be.
I definitely think it's an effective way. And one of the things I always think of is there's a flash flood in my area, I'm getting a push notification about it. And I will say, I'm not the one to be looking at the TV. It's my phone where I would absorb that information through a push. But Brenda, it's good to hear that from your membership demographic as well, that you are seeing that it's a great way that's effective for your members just to receive it right on their phone.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know you mentioned your events and that you do send out push notifications for these as well. Before we talk a little bit more about virtual events, what events do you have in the events feature? Is it just, one certain type of event, or which ones are in there?
No, every event goes into the event feature, and we really anticipate building this out more and more, especially as we get back into our members being able to meet again. We hope to use the event feature to help them with their calendar and keep everybody on board on not only on the virtual events, but the in-person events. And again, I keep saying it, one place for them to go and look and see what's going on in TRTA.
We couldn't agree more. And we think it's awesome that every single event is in this feature for you all. Brenda, I think you're right when you mention it's great for them to be able to add to their schedule. We recently added that My Schedule feature with the latest Core 2.8 update. And the great thing about that is when we transition into in-person, your members will be able to easily see their schedule of what sessions they would like to go to. And even virtual right now, it still makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know there's one specific virtual event that's coming up, Brenda, that your team is focused on. And which one is that?
Well, the big one that we're working on is our day at the Capitol. We normally, when we're in session, we pick one day where we encourage all of our members to come to the Capitol, meet with legislators. And it's really impressive because they all wear red, and it's just, you go over to the Texas State Capitol, which is not a small place, and everywhere you look, there's somebody in a red shirt. It makes a huge impression on our legislators. It gives our members access to the legislators to talk about their concerns and find out what's going on. But of course, we can't do that this year. So we're taking it virtual. And instead of it being a one-day event, we're spreading it out over 3 or 4 days. And we're scheduling different legislators from different areas, senators, congressmen, and arranging Zoom meetings and letting our members carry on the conversations that they're used to having with their elected officials.
And Brenda, I think that it's great you all are still going to be giving your members that opportunity, even though it will be virtual. Alexa, will you click to the next slide, please? Now, Brenda, what are your plans as far as before, during, and after for how you're going to use the app for this event?
Well, of course, people can RSVP through the app and also through our website, but we are encouraging them once they RSVP to go ahead and download the app and be ready for it. We will be sending push notifications. We will be, posting on the news feed about different events. We'll have forum discussions after certain events. Mm-hmm. And we will also be communicating information to our members beforehand so that they know what to discuss with their officials and so that they will be prepared. Then we'll use it as we follow up with it. We're one of my coworkers just posted, we have a special, we are asking them to, it's called a red letter campaign, and we're sending out red envelopes in our newsletter and asking them to write to their officials and using these red envelopes, because since we can't show up on the Capitol grounds with red shirts, we want their desks to be full of red envelopes in its place. And so we will be using the app to promote that effort. So.
Well, Brenda, I think that's a great way to get creative. Like you said, they're not going to be in those red shirts, but hopefully there will be lots of red letters. And I saw that Ashley said the campaign will be about, who posts that in the app or who mentions that they are doing it in the app, right?
Right.
So Brenda, I'm excited to hear more about that event after, during, and before. But I think overall, your team has done a wonderful job. I know you have put so much hard work behind the scenes as well. And we are so excited that your membership has truly embraced the app moving forward and today. So Brenda, it's been a pleasure working with you. Thank you for hopping on the line and sharing your experience as well as your members' experience with the app. I'm so excited to see what's next for TRTA.
So am I.